And then we did a big launch on Product Hunt, plus Twitter, plus LinkedIn, all the socials we could. That really propelled us from like 2 to 10K MRR. And ever since then, we've been growing like really steadily, like multiples, like 3x in 3 weeks, stuff like this. And now we're on track to hit our goals of getting to 1 million ARR before the end of the year, which is very exciting.
In this interview, you will learn how to copy a big competitor's idea and outplay them by simply tweaking the target audience. You'll also discover how to land your first 100 paying customers through personal connections, networking, and Twitter super fast. And finally, Nick will share a powerful cheat code that helps him skyrocket to 1 million by leveraging his existing customer base without spending a dime on ads.
Hi, my name is Nick. I'm the CEO of Mocha, which is an app building tool for the 99% for non-technical people, and we're growing really fast. We're on track to hit 1 million ARR by the end of the year.
Could you please tell me your story, how everything began, and how you managed to come up to this incredible idea?
Yeah, so I met my co-founder working on self-driving cars, and we worked together for 4 years on that, and we always wanted to build a company. And 2 years ago, when AI became really big, ChatGPT came out, we decided to start a company. And at the time, we were platform engineers, so we were trying to build a tool for other engineers to build better LLM apps. But we soon quickly realized that AI was so good that we could that idea could get more ambitious. And we could help people that don't know how to code, how to build things with code. And that was actually always on the board of ideas of things we wanted to do, but it was never possible before Claude Sonnet 3.5. As soon as it became possible, we got really energized by that. Like, as I said, I love building things that help other people build things. And so helping people that previously could not do it, do something new is like a superpower. That's really inspiring. And so that happened last summer. Like Claude Sonnet 3.5 came last summer. We did a YC hackathon where I hacked up a prototype in like 2 days, and it worked really well. And so we were like, this is what we got to do with the company. And so at the time we had a TypeScript notebook product that we kind of evolved into like an app builder built product. And then we brought it online, and that went from Sourcebook to Mocha.
Awesome. Nice. But one of your competitors, it's Lovable. Could you tell us just a little bit more? How are you competing with such monster?
Yeah. I mean, if I thought Lovable was solving the problem I'm solving, I wouldn't be building Mocha, right? I don't think they're solving an app builder for the 99% for everybody people. When you start a Lovable product, if you want a database or if you want like authentication, you have to connect Superbase, which is literally the name of that. How I would describe that product is serverless Postgres as a service, and edge functions, and authentication SDK. So imagine my mother, who's a teacher in Paris, signing up for Superbase. That makes no sense, right? And so fundamentally, Lovable is building for a more technical, savvy user. They're not necessarily developers, but they're like developer adjacent. Maybe they work in a tech company, or they're like a young person that's very plugged in and can use complex tools. And that's totally fine. It's a very cool market to build for, and they're getting lots of success. But I've talked to a lot of ex-Lovable people who join Mocha. They just get confused. They don't know what an RLS, like row level security, which is like a security concept in Superbase. They don't know what any of this stuff means. They don't know how it works. And so they're just looking for a solution that just works. It could even do less. That would still be very powerful for them to just achieve something. And so that's the idea behind Mocha. And the way we do that is that we build everything like vertically integrated. So we have a database, we have an authentication SDK, we have like a backend, a frontend, an app builder. We're going to do product building. We're going to do marketing. The whole idea is it's a one-stop shop where you could build and operate your business knowing nothing about how it works. Our mission is to help people that have no idea how to build tech products to build tech products, and that be easy for them.
Nice, great. And could you please share how did you find your co-founder and what roles right now between you and them?
Yeah, Ben is a good friend of mine and also my co-founder. We have what I think is the ideal setup. We work together at 2 very different companies. And so like it was a very obvious and natural fit. We went through YC. YC really, they know their data, and they know that people that have a pre-existing good working relationship are much more likely to keep working together under the pressure of the grind and not break up. Co-founder breakups lead to a lot of companies dying. And so like that's really been true for us. As for our strengths and what we do, Ben is the CTO, and he's very much like the builder who's spending a lot of time building. I spent the beginning of Mocha was 80% of my time was building, but now it's very little. I do support, so I do like some tickets to help with like little bugs and improvements that I do during support, but I focus on like growth and support and with most of my time, which takes up like a lot of time.
Okay, great. Could you tell us just a bit more? How did you manage to create your MVP, or you built the full product from day one? I don't know.
No, we had to. That's a really good question. First of all, we didn't take payments at first. So one thing we skipped initially was just like no payments, just get us something working that people like. Second of all, we focused on front end first because that was the good way to get started building an agent. We needed to build like a good agent, and so we're like, let's do no backend for now, just like build a good agent with front end. That's what we launched in February when I told you like we started taking payments. And after that, we decided, okay, now we need to build the full stack vision we have. And we spent a lot of time, the agent was kind of like where it was, and we spent a lot of time building the right infrastructure and orchestrating it ourselves with a hybrid engine. And that launched in June. And so if you look back at what we did, we kind of took the four of the hard problems and we did them one by one, and then we assembled them all together. And like by June 15th, like they were all there. I don't think Mocha's finished or anything, but it was the first like coherent, and we called it complete version of Mocha. And now there's a lot of like incremental things we can do, but fundamentally our product is there and it's doing what we want it to do.
If you want to get more insights and cheat codes about the AI business, follow me on Telegram and Tix. I share tons of them there. Links in the description. Okay, nice. Could you tell our audience just a bit more maybe about AI and how they can use AI to build their first startup?
I love this topic actually. I wish, as a programmer, sometimes you sit by another programmer and you pair program and you see them work and you're like, oh, what's that really cool thing you did? And you learn a lot of tips by looking at other people work. And I feel like AI is exactly the same way because no one's really sure how to use it, but everybody's kind of got the intuition that you could do a lot with it. And so I love these kind of tips. So first of all, the first thing we do is we encourage everybody at the company to use AI a lot. When someone joins, I'm like, here's a Claude Max subscription. Here's a ChatGPT. If you want to try any AI product, you have basically infinite budget. Just let me know and we'll try it out. And so we try all kinds of tools all over the place. And so the two major areas where we've used it that have been really productive for the team is coding. So we used to be Cursor and Copilot power users. Now most of the team is using Claude Code, which has really taken over the coding. And that's like for the developers, that's a huge unlock. And by the way, they use Claude Code for more than just coding because it's a bit of a general agent. So they can use it for like brainstorming or doing web research or all these other things. But Claude Code is like a big unlock, and I recommend everybody spend time trying to master it. And then on my end, as I told you, I'm doing more than just engineering now. I'm doing growth and support. And so I try to use a lot of AI all over the place in those two domains. So on support, there's a lot of like when a ticket comes in, do some auto classification, see if you can auto answer. And then like taking those insights, think an N8N workflow. We don't use N8N, we use similar things, but it's the same idea. And so you have like some unstructured data as like input, and you want to create like growth materials. That could be like a YouTube video script, or it could be like a blog post, or it could be like a memo you send to the team, a strategy doc, And so I spend a lot of time building these workflows to transform all of the messy, unstructured, but highly valuable data we have of our conversations and emails and everything, and put them through pipes to come out with like nicely packaged things like blog posts. And I do this all the time. And I keep changing my workflows. I used Gumloop, I used Lindy, I used like Claude Code. Right now, I'm just vibe coding stuff up. Like you could use an app like Mocha to like vibe code things. I vibe coded like a LinkedIn post and image generator using Mocha, which was fun because it allowed me to debug Mocha, and I use it for my LinkedIn. And so there's all kinds of little things I do. And by the way, I think I'm doing a good job because at least I ask myself the question, could I use AI for this? And I try. But I'm convinced that like nearly everything I do, I could probably be 10x more productive with AI if I spent the time. And so I'm constantly looking for tips as well. If someone has like a great tip, please send it over to me. I'm very hungry for like productivity tips with AI.
Okay, great. And could you please share some practical insights regarding how our audience can get their first 100 customers? What should they do?
Yeah. First of all, you got to turn off your shame and just accept and embrace your cringe. And you got to like launch on whatever platform you have, LinkedIn, Twitter, actually all of them. You got to text all of your friends and family. I had my dad like commenting on my LinkedIn post, like go Mocha and stuff. And like, you just got to do that. Product Hunt is the same thing. Like I leveraged everything I could. So I have a YC network. I would text all the founders I met in YC. I've been in the Valley for like 12 years. I went through my text history and I was just texting people. There were like hundreds of messages down like, hey, how's it going? Hope life is good. We just launched, please, a boost would be really helpful. It really helps my company. And it feels like asking for a lot, but if you don't do it too often, if you do it like once a year or twice a year, most people are happy to help. And that really helps because it's very hard to break through the algorithmic noise. And so like the number one thing is you need people to engage. And if you don't have a bunch of followers, the best way to do that is to leverage your existing network. And so you just got to be very, very ambitious, like very aggressive with that until you get a following, and then you could leverage your existing distribution.
By the way, if you want to get more frameworks on how to build your AI business, real workshops and insights from founders who made that, click like and subscribe. Awesome, great, thanks. And could you please share maybe some kind of like a business insights from business operation or something like that that you managed to find after starting and launching your SaaS?
One of my kind of original takes is that I think that in 2025, the bar is incredibly high for quality. I think that, YC gives a bunch of advice like move fast and break things, like launch scrappy software. Stripe famously was very scrappy when they launched. And I think a lot of that is a little bit outdated, actually, because today there's a lot of beautiful abstractions. There's a lot of beautiful vertical SaaS tools, which means you could focus on your product. There's a lot of like advances we've made in design and like programming that just make building a reactive, beautiful app quickly as possible now, like it wasn't before, this cloud. And so I think the competition is much, much more aggressive. And so one of my takes is even an MVP needs to look and feel good. MVP doesn't mean janky. It means minimum viable. It means you don't do too much. It means focus. But like within that focus, I think you still need to meet a certain quality bar because the average human being has a very high expectation of a quality of software in 2025. By the way, before getting our first 100 customers, we went through YC and we built 2 different products that never made a single dollar before we got to Mocha. So like I really can relate with the pain of like 0 to 1 can be extremely difficult. And then weirdly with Mocha, it was a lot less difficult, but we had to build a bunch of stuff before we enabled payments and it happened. And really what you want to do is you want to validate really quickly that people like your product. And for us, the very big difference between Mocha and the stuff we built before, very, very noticeable, is that instead of getting like gentle encouragement, like, wow, what you're building is really neat, good job. That's what people say when they don't care about what you're building. And when you build something that people like, you get 2 responses. Typically frustration, like I tried it and then this didn't work, what's going on, and like they get really angry. That's a very good sign. When you're generating emotion and like people used it but it didn't quite do what they wanted, first of all, it's giving you direct feedback on what they want, and second of all, clearly you're close. And so the biggest tell for me and my advice is like look for emotion, look for an emotional response. And it doesn't need to be like thousands of people, it could be 1 or 10 people. If one person gets really upset with your product because it's like not doing what they want it to do, but they want it to do a thing, that's a very, very good sign. And so we were having a lot of this before we turned payments on. So we knew that as soon as we turned payments on, people would use it. We also had people asking us for more. We were giving a certain amount of free credits and people were like, how can I get more? How can I get more? And so that's basically how we got there. By the way, like we started building Mocha very early, but it took us a long time to get everything right. But while we were building, other competitors that you probably know of, like Replit, Lovable, Bolt, they launched, and they were all doing very well. So we knew we were in like an interesting part of the market. And this is actually another piece of advice I'll give. I was building products before Mocha, and I was trying very hard to be an original. Be a visionary, be like Steve Jobs, invent an object or a category that previously didn't exist, and like that's the way to be a good entrepreneur. And I still think that's true, but I think it's actually very hard and very unlikely. It's much more likely that you start with an existing market, get to understand it deeply, and then innovate through it. And even this is what Jobs did if you look back at his career. So you start with like computers that people were building, and then you slowly get to the iPhone after having mastered personal computing literally for 2 decades. And so I was running away from competition is the point I'm trying to make. I was like, if there's other people in this space, I shouldn't do it. But I've realized like our space is crowded, but we have a very unique angle on it. And I think the market is very large to accommodate for multiple players anyway. And I want to build it my way. Like I've tried Lovable. If I loved Lovable, I would just use it. I don't like it. I don't think it's very good. And so as long as you feel that way and you have deep internal conviction that you could build a good product in a category, do not shy away from competition. Competition means there's demand, and demand is a very good thing for a product.
Okay, and you told that you're growing insanely. Could you please share maybe some kind of secrets and insights how to grow finally?
Yeah.
How to generate those leads?
Yeah. So there are 2 steps of growth in my mind. There's like initiate the initial burst, And then once you have it, can you create a self-fulfilling kind of like machine, like a flywheel that keeps working? And so we spent effort on both, and they're both very important. So for our launch, we made a video that we purposefully tried to make like very good at being a scroll stopper, so show a face, try to make it engaging, high tempo. You know this, you make videos, I think you understand the meaning. I'm sure your audience does as well. That was a big part. And then like talk to all our friends and try to get as much boosting as we can. So that gives you the launch time. But then how do you keep the flywheel going? And so for this, we spent a lot of time on growth engineering. I don't know if your audience knows this, but companies like Facebook and Pinterest, where I was at, have a massive growth engineering team. And they're doing all day, they're building, like it's engineering. They're building features into the product that lead to more engagement and like higher conversion rates. It could be SEO, it could be changing the landing page copy, it could be more personalization, it could be activation emails, it could be affiliate programs, all of the above. And so at Mocha, we built a bunch of these things. And so we built an affiliate program, giving an incentives that our existing users can get more users. This is a really big deal. We built Spotlight, which is a place where you can build an app and then like put it on this Spotlight billboard where other people can see it, giving you your initial distribution. We just talked like it's a mini product hunt. We just talked about people build something, they want other people to see it. If you build something on Mocha, we're trying to help you do that. That actually is a win-win because the user gets to showcase their app and get maybe some other users, and we get to showcase, the community's voting, and we get to showcase the best apps as voted by the community. And so it helps other people get inspiration. And so these are the types of features that we spend a lot of time on. We have brainstorms every Monday, like what is the biggest pain point? How can we grow faster? And then we prioritize features based on those answers and those brainstorms.
Nice, great. Okay, let's talk about tech stack. So could you please share what tech stack for backend, frontend, and third-party services you are using right now?
So I'm going to take the question as what does Mocha use, not the Mocha applications for our customers. So what does Mocha, the company, use? So we build on top of our tech stack is Elixir, which is a bit of a niche language, but I wrote it at Pinterest and I love it, and so does my co-founder. Elixir with a React Fat client. On that client, we use Postgres, and that's just a Postgres instance in GCP. We used to use Supabase, and we kind of liked it, but GCP could get closer to our Fly host. We host on Fly, and so we got better network latencies, so we used that. We use Cloudflare for the equivalent of S3. It's called R2. It's like one letter before and one number before. And we use Cloudflare for also our CDN and serving assets. So that's most of our stack. And we use less like off-the-shelf custom SDKs than other people. The reason why we picked Elixir is that, like Rails, it comes batteries included. So in TypeScript, you need to get like an auth SDK and a job queues manager and a DB ORM and all these things. But then Elixir, all of that's built into Phoenix, which is like the framework for building web applications. And so that's one of the reasons we used it. So yeah, that's mostly the stack we use at Mocha. Oh, and so for the third-party services, we use a few different things. We use PostHog for analytics. We actually really like PostHog. It was a bit of a hurdle to get to know it, but now that I do, I think it's very, very powerful. We use Help Scout for support, which is very good. It allows us to assign tickets and handle them one by one. We use Stripe for payments. Of course, we considered others, but I think they're like absolutely amazing, and I recommend them really hard. We use Loops for email, which is another loops.so. This is a great company that allows you to send transactional emails on like drips, and they have this concept of loops, which is really good for activation and engagement emails. We use Google Suite, like a Google Docs and everything. We use Notion. Actually, I go back and forth with Notion AI. I don't use it anymore. In the back office, we use Granola for meetings. I'm recording this meeting with Granola. If there are any good insights, I'll feed that into my script, which will lead to blog posts maybe. And that's all I can think of off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's a couple I'm forgetting.
Nice, great. Could you please also share maybe some kind of ideas for our audience which they can use to start their own business?
So a couple ideas that come to mind. A lot of them have to do with marketing, actually. You want marketing to be very kind of like, it just solves the problem for you completely automatically, or it needs to be very flexible like N8N. But even with N8N, there's a lot of work you need to put in. So if someone gives me a solution out of the box that solves one problem, let's say SEO, and I had a YC company pitch me this recently, and I think it's a great idea, but it's an archetype idea, which is we take your existing blog, we ingest it, we build a new blog for you with like much more content, and we suggest articles every week in your inbox. All you have to do is say yes, no. That's all you have to do. So basically, they're solving a very clear problem. I want better SEO. Everybody wants better SEO. It's just a matter of like how much would it cost me. And they're also making it very low friction. They ingest it, they like make the whole change for me, and then I just have to say yes, no. So I think that's a great idea of a business. And in that realm in marketing, there's a lot of them, because I just talked about SEO, but what about emails? What if you had a service that intercepted all the marketing emails and gave you automatic copy suggestions to improve conversion? That'd be great. Or to reduce spam, because like they're doing automatic filtering of keywords that doesn't look good. Same on like when you share your copy, like people, you could have a bot that crawls your presence across many sites and detects incoherences. You want to have a very coherent and consistent messaging going on. You know, a good tagline that's always the same, good handles that always look the same. And so something that would scrape, that would monitor different platforms and tell me when there's divergence would be really helpful. And it could even tell me like, this is working better, maybe move to this, or that is working worse, like move back to the central one. So a lot of the ideas have to do with that. With engineering, a lot of my ideas are being tackled by the big labs right now. So like, I think Cursor, Claude Code are amazing. It's hard to do AI coding without a lot of capital. So I would maybe look less there. And then support is really interesting, because I think it's an immensely crowded space, but it's very hard to find the right fit for your company stage. I think different support options look very different if you're small, very small, medium, growing fast, not growing fast, and cost sensitive. Like there's all these different niches and sub niches. And if there was a solution that did a good job of absorbing all of my docs, like I still have to do a lot of work to create the context with these agents. But if it just did it, if it was like, hey, I know what Mocha is, I Googled around, I did deep research, I know all about your docs, you could just put this one line of JavaScript on your website and people have a support bot that just works. Once again, like I have no time. We have a 6-person team. We have a million things we want to do. If you come to me and you pitch me a product that does something and I have very little to do, it's very high value and like it's very easy to get my dollars for me to try it. So that's always my recommendation, is make their onboarding costs really low and make the value proposition really obvious. Doesn't need to be very high, even if it's like a little win, but it's like basically free of time and it only costs a few dollars, $20, $100 a month. Most businesses are interested. So that's my recommendation.
Awesome. Love that. And maybe you can share some insights or motivate our audience to start their SaaS business today.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's never been a better time to build a SaaS. You know, I think Sam Altman said like we're entering like the renaissance of SaaS. So I forget how he phrased it, but basically we're going to have an explosion of SaaS. I completely agree. The thesis behind Mocha is, instead of having 20 companies in Silicon Valley that make software for the whole world and there's 20 apps on your phone, there's going to be a lot more what we call personal software, long tail software, like custom software just to solve a very specific problem. Maybe it's your problem, maybe it's a niche of SaaS, but those are kind of similar in the sense that they're taking a really specific problem and it didn't make sense in the past to deploy engineers and to pay many engineers to do it. But if you can vibe code it with 1 or 2 people, it starts to make a lot of economical sense. So I think there'll be lots of this, but it goes back to what I just said. It needs to be really focused and narrow. Like what you shouldn't do is try to build Rippling and vibe code it. That needs capital and growth and probably a seasoned entrepreneur. But I think you should, if you have any idea, if you have any kind of knowledge, if you've worked in any kind of knowledge work before, you probably have seen some workflows that were pretty manual and bad. And you could write a little see it SaaS that automates those and go try and sell them to people that used to be like you. This is a very good way to start like your ideas and like get your first entrepreneurial chops, get your first dollars in.
Awesome. Great. Thank you very much for these great insights. Guys, if you want a step-by-step guide on how to build your AI B2B business from idea to marketing, from no-code tools to AI prompts for vibe coding, just open link in the description and grab this free 50-page playbook.